Alright YouTube, so we are here today to talk about Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition yet again, but this time we're talking about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I want to give my thoughts on this game, sort of a mini review. It's not a full review obviously, because I haven't played it enough to even review it. I've only put a couple of hours into it, but I've played it enough to kind of get a feel of the newer version of San Andreas. Now, despite our last video being about Vice City and kind of praising that game and how much I like it, there's a reason we're playing San Andreas, and for me, this one has the most replay value. Like, I've played the shit out of 3 and Vice City, and their worlds, at this point, are not that interesting to me. I've played through them enough in my lifetime. I mean, it goes without saying, it's not even close. Like, comparing San Andreas' like, world and everything that you can do to Vice City and GTA 3, it's just not even close. San Andreas beats them completely. Obviously, I love those games. They're iconic as fuck, and I'm going to get to those eventually. We might talk about them here on the channel. I don't know yet. But I just want to hop into GTA San Andreas and see what this classic like PS2 era GTA is like with these modern like controls, visuals, and stuff like that. Speaking of visuals, it kind of goes without saying, but these are the definitive editions of these games. Like, they look vastly superior than like the PS4 version that I have. I have the trilogy on my PlayStation 4, bought it some time ago and been playing through them. And actually, right before the definitive edition got officially like announced and revealed by Rockstar, I had just finished playing through San Andreas. So I just got done playing like all 3 of these games not too long ago. But it's watching gameplay like side by side. I mean, it's not even close, right? Like, this game looks vastly superior. Now, there are some shit visuals, and we'll get to that here pretty quickly. But I think overall, just the world driving around, the lighting, the reflection of like lights off of vehicles, things like that, the geometry of the world looks great. The weapon wheel is a nice addition to the game, though I haven't really started using it too much yet. Again, I'm only a couple hours into the game. I'm still used to like hitting one of the top buttons to like cycle through all the weapons, but eventually, once I get used to using the weapon wheel in San Andreas, it's going to be a very nice addition. And though we are just talking about San Andreas in this video, the weapon wheel was added to all 3 games within the trilogy, so 3 has it and so does Vice City. Now, hopping back to the topic of visuals, there are some bad things when it comes to this trilogy. It's in all 3 games, but mostly it comes down to like character models. Like, some of the character models in these games look pretty good, and then some are just horrendous. One example that's in San Andreas that you might have already seen over the past day or so is like the barber. He looks completely different. Like, he used to be like a PS2 version of Morgan Freeman, and then now with this like definitive edition, he looks nothing the same. He doesn't even have glasses anymore. And look, I completely accept that this is not a big deal. It's one character in this instance. It's not the only bad looking character in the game, but it's one character that in a place I usually don't even go to in a playthrough. Like, I don't even touch the barbershop or tattoo parlors or anything like that in a playthrough, because it's just nothing I even give a shit about anymore. But why they make him like so drastically different is strange to me. Why can't he still look like an old guy with glasses, right? Gray hair and shit. I don't know why they would just completely redo his character model. It's just weird. This shit right here, however, is laughably bad. It's not even just bad, it's fucking embarrassing. The bottom picture is obviously from the definitive edition. For one, like, again, why is the character so different? The top character on the left had a bandana. Bottom left, no bandana. Why is that the case? But also the characters on the bottom look so cartoonish. They look so lifeless and not real. You can look up the top picture, which is like a PS2 image potentially, maybe PS3, PS4, I don't know what it's from, but they at least look like real people in the face. The bottom ones are just like cartoon characters. People have already been memeing the shit out of these particular character models. This one on the left looks like a goddamn me character. Also looks a lot like a RuneScape character, which I forgot about RuneScape. I haven't played that in a very long time, but that one made me laugh. But again, this is just embarrassing, dude. Like, I don't know how they look at those character models and like just let that go out the door. Like, it looks so unbelievably fucking bad. And there's other examples of this stuff. I'll just post some images in the background of just shit looking character models. The thing is, when it comes down to any of the problems that are with these remasters, it's not technically Rockstar's fault because they're not the ones developing these games. They outsource it to, or whatever you want to call it, to Grove Street Games. I believe Grove Street Games are the ones who did like the mobile versions of like San Andreas, Vice City, and GTA 3, which have been notoriously shit. So when people seen who was making these remasters, that automatically raised some red flags for them, and I guess to some degree they were justified. Now, I will say this, however, now this is just my personal experience. This is anecdotal. It's not gospel. But I put, a handful of hours into San Andreas, and so far, outside of like shit character models here and there, I'm not experiencing like bad things. I've not experienced like any glitches. I'm not falling through the map or anything like that. Some people said that there are some glitches in these games. I've just not experienced it yet. Some other visual related stuff is they've added like debris to the world. If you just pay attention to the background and some of the gameplay, you'll see like boxes and other random bullshit on the side of the road that didn't used to be in the game. Stuff like that's kind of interesting, just adding a little set dressing to the world. Something else that's pretty interesting is here's a picture of CJ's garage from like the PS4 version that I have. Nothing in here, just the car. And then over here is the Definitive Edition, and you can see all the different shit they added to the inside of the garage. As somebody who's been playing this game for like almost 20 years, this makes a huge difference to me, adding just a bunch of detail to the world. They put a shelf in here with a bunch of random bullshit. There's a lamp there on the shelf, put a ladder in there, a washer and dryer, CJ's trash can. This adds so much to the world that they didn't have to do. And it's also true for the other couple of garages that I've seen as I've played through the game and done some of the missions. I've seen a couple other garages open up when you're dropping off cars and things like that. They've also added detail to those garages as well. One major change they made to all three games within the trilogy is Parallax Interiors. Now, these are pseudo 3D interiors to buildings. When you're looking in like a door or a window into a building, it looks vaguely 3D. Now, these aren't actual 3D interiors. You can't go into the buildings. They did this for most, if not all, of the buildings within the games. Now, this is obviously a welcome change. It adds so much more life to the world of San Andreas, and obviously I'm assuming Vice City and GTA 3 as well. I haven't played those, but I'm assuming it's a similar situation. Problem is, at certain times, certain buildings, if you actually stop and look into the windows or doors, it can look pretty bad. For starters, before we actually even play the gameplay, just look at the screenshot. Look into the windows. It's all the exact same thing. It's the checkered floor, table in the back, picture on the wall. Like, that's all these storefronts right here in this one particular shopping area. All the exact same thing. Just copy and pasted. Fucking lazy. However, once you move up to the window, it gets pretty weird where it's like, almost looks like it's going downhill, like it's in a different reality, like it's not parallel to the ground that you're walking on. I can't really explain it. It's strange as fuck. And then I walk over here to a different storefront and look inside, and like if you pay attention to like what is supposed to be the items in the background of the store, they move around pretty strangely. You can tell they didn't even try to really make it look 3D. Now, of course, I don't know what the rest of the world looks like. I might look at the next 100 interiors and they look fucking fantastic. But in the couple examples I give you in this video, the first couple I looked at, I was just running around the world. And it's like, I'm going to look in the windows and see what this Parallax Interior shit's all about. And they're fucking dog shit, man. Those are the first ones I looked at that I really paid attention to. And not only enough, for some reason, with the buildings that you can go into in this game, they didn't do like a reverse version of this. So, for example, you can see in the upstairs windows of CJ's house in the Definitive Edition, but when you actually go into his house, you can't see out the windows. This seems like just a bit of a missed opportunity because there's several buildings you can go into in this game, right? You can buy a shit ton of property all over the map, and I think it would have been a nice touch if you could also have maybe just like a Parallax exterior, where when you're inside the building, you look out the windows, it gives you a vague idea of what the outside world looks like in front of that building, but I guess they couldn't be bothered. Hell, similar to that shop front we looked at earlier, I would have been okay if like looking out every window gave you the same fucking shitty-ass Parallax exterior image just to have something to look out the windows at. Some of the other things that I do actually like about the game is they have palette swaps for pedestrians, so you might see the exact same pedestrian in the same general area, but they'll be different colors. Like there might be a character that has like an orange outfit, but then like they'll have a purple outfit and then a yellow outfit and different colors and things like that. So it doesn't seem like you're coming across the same NPCs. And in general, it seems like they populated the world more. We've seen this with like GTA 3, like gameplay and stuff and screenshots before the trilogy came out. It seems like they did this maybe with all three games, where they just kind of added more pedestrians to the world, so it feels a little more alive, and that's a positive, of course. Something that I haven't had to experience just yet, but that is a positive, is the ability to restart missions from checkpoints. So when you're playing through a mission, as you progress through it, you'll see like checkpoints saved in like the top left corner, I think it is. And if you were to like fail the mission, it'll pop up on screen that you want to restart from your last checkpoint, and it'll instantly load you up to right then and there wherever that last checkpoint was. That's obviously great, because if you played these games before, sometimes like if you die, it'll take you to a hospital. The hospital's on the other side of the city, so it's a bit of a drive to go back to like the mission starting area, and then you gotta start the mission all the way over. It's kind of nice to be able to start the mission maybe like in the middle, and you don't have to drive anywhere. So a few things I noticed that I didn't actually like record gameplay for, just wrote it down in my notes, are there's not like 3 different movement speeds when it comes to CJ. So normally with like the PS4 version that I have, you can hold forward on the joystick, he'll run at a slower speed. You can then hold X or A, depending on what platform you're on. He'll move a little bit faster, and then whenever you tap the running button, he'll sprint at the fastest speed he can. That's not possible in the Definitive Edition. For some reason, you can only hold forward and only tap the button. You can't hold it down to move kind of middle speed or whatever you want to call it. Something else that was a bit of a welcome change, but also kind of weird to get used to, is that CJ can auto-mantle stuff. So I was just like running from somebody in the game. I didn't even touch the jump button at all, and he automatically hopped the fence. So I turned around and tried it a few times, and I don't know if this is like a setting that's on like permanently, if it's like a setting that you can turn off and on within the menus. I haven't checked, but it's kind of interesting. And lastly for this video, because it's getting a little bit longer than I planned on it being, are a couple car-related things. For one, there's certain hills, it seems like, in this game where when you start driving up it, your car drastically slows down. I'll play you some footage in the background from later on within this mission. So watch this right here. We turn it and go up this hill, and by the time I get to almost the top of the hill, my motorcycle is almost at a dead stop. And this is a mission where I have to chase somebody. And I can't explain this. This happened to me a few times in the game. It's happened with a vehicle, like an actual car, going up a much smaller hill than that. I have to slow down to damn near a dead stop. And I'm not exactly sure what caused it. I don't know if it's like a bug, if it's like a certain vehicle versus certain hills, or just that particular hill in general, no matter the vehicle, or that particular vehicle, no matter the hill. I don't know. But it's happened a few times already. This next one is pretty strange. All I can do is kind of explain it and then just play the gameplay without me talking. But with a few different vehicles as I've played, in just the short time I've played, I have vehicles that hit like this really low top speed, and they never get any faster despite me never letting go of the gas. And like the motor never sounds like it's like trying to get faster. It just stays at the same volume, essentially.
I hate it.
You see how the truck just never gets any faster? I can't even explain it. It's a weird ass bug or glitch. I don't know. So here we are towards the end of the video, my dudes, and Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition. Can I really recommend this to anybody? Not really, because you have to buy the trilogy. You have to buy all 3 games for $60, so essentially $20 per game. And I don't know if it's worth it for the visual enhancements, because that's the main thing here, is just the game looks a lot better than it used to, and that's kind of it. I mean, if you notice, most of this video, if I'm not mistaken, was pretty negative. There's a lot of visual problems and other gimmicky, weird bullshit throughout the game that I can't say that it's worth the money. And if I were you, unless you're just chomping at the bit to get this, then you probably already have it anyways. You probably just wait. With the reception this is getting, I'd give it a month or two and it'll probably already be on sale, and it might even be on the $20 rack at Walmart in like 3 months. But of course, my dudes, pass off to you. What are your thoughts on Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition? Have you played it yet? Maybe you played one of the other games that I haven't touched yet, 3 or Vice City. What are your thoughts on those? Do you plan on getting the game? Maybe you've waited and you're watching reviews, and if you're watching reviews, you're probably not going to get it for a little bit, maybe never. Maybe you're going to wait till it's on sale. Just let me know your thoughts. Now, before we close out this video, if you made it this far, I do want to thank you guys for the support on the channel. We only have like 100-something subscribers, but every video on this channel, except for one, has over 100 views, which is an insane ratio. It's almost like 100% subscriber to view ratio. Couldn't ask for more. So whether or not you're just watching the videos on this channel, maybe you watch both channels, I appreciate the support. Either way, my dudes, that's the video. Social networks are in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DashingDavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Till it comes to conclusions, all the things that we thought we were losing. I'm a ghost and you know this. That's why we broke up in the first place.